Hi, welcome to Newsnail number 14. Welcome back. I know we've been gone for a little bit, but we're happy to be back after a break, and we're back after a little bit of a revised format. We are going to now work to include interviews with entrepreneurs focused in the state of Montana, but we're still going to be offering my take on news events in the world, especially entrepreneurial news. And we're also going to have my opinions at the end. So here we are at episode 14 of the Newsnail. It's brought to you by Nails Ed, a learning and development platform focused on professional communications in writing, presentations, and meeting management, ensuring that all your communications are received first. That means they're focused, they grab interest, they're well-researched, they're specific to one topic, and they have next steps that are time-based and measurable. We offer online and in-person communications, teaching, and coaching. Please see our website at nailsed.com, launching here in the next few weeks. So what's my topic today before we get to the interview with Amy Darr, who is the Pure Barre entrepreneur here in Bozeman and in Billings? My first topic is quiet quitting and work ethic here that we're seeing in the United States. A new Gallup survey found that 18% of US employees are actively disengaged, and over 50% are simply not engaged. These are the quiet quitters. This is astounding. This is astounding on so many levels, that people that are working would rather just show up and not do anything. Where is your self-respect? Where is your pride? Where's your pride in work? That you can just show up and do nothing and collect a paycheck and feel good about yourself at the end of the day? Holy tamale, buck up, folks. If you don't like what you're doing, leave. Do yourself a favor, do the people around you a favor, leave. Yeah, it's a tough economy, but not for good workers and good jobs. You can always find one. And if you don't have the balls to leave, then find something to do at your work that you enjoy. Find a skill that you don't know that they're willing to teach you. And it's not just the employees who are responsible here. Since 2019, the number of young workers who feel someone encourages their development has dropped 12 points. In fact, less than 40% of workers say they don't even know it's expected of them at work. Shame on you, managers. You got to communicate to your people, and you got to communicate both ways, right? If there's bad communication, then it's not going to work. But boy, this quiet quitting thing, I can't think of anything more shameful than not showing up and giving your best effort. I just don't know how people live with themselves if they do that. Get out there and get her done, right? And what's driving this? Well, I call it the communication dynamic, or the 4 C's, because success in company comes in success in its employees. And that comes when those employees are confident and their morale is strong, and they're confident only when they know what they're doing, or when they know that someone can hear what they have to say and understand what they have to say. And that drives the biggest thing of all, your corporate culture. Because MIT Sloan recently did a study and found that corporate culture is 10 times more important than compensation in predicting employee turnover. 10 times. People aren't leaving for money. They're leaving because the culture's no good. Why is the culture no good? Because you got a lot of quiet quitters sitting around. But also, it's because people don't know what they're supposed to be doing. They're not engaged. They're not showing up. But this turnover costs U.S. businesses over $220 billion over the last 5 years. So we got to do a better job enhancing that culture. And the best way to do it is better communications. And that leads to better collaboration and to company success. So my point on this one, the nail point here, in sum, have some pride in your work. Have some pride in yourself. Show up, do the job. And if you don't like the job, say something about it or leave. But I'd say something about it first if you like the place and you want to stay. Also, I know it sounds very boomery, but find a way to get to the office. Just show up. You know, people, I don't know how you can learn a culture of a company. I don't know how you can get recognized if you don't show up. And like I said, I know it's a boomer thing to say, but you know what? Most of your managers are probably boomers. And they'd like you to show up. And it's not that hard to do. And I think your ads are more productive, except for the commute, of course. And when you get there, work. Don't be woke. It's okay to have issues and causes you believe in, but don't let them get in the way of your image at your office and your job at your office. People want to see workers, not wokesters. And then work to distinguish yourselves. And how do you do that? You do it by working hard, by showing up. You hone the 3 C's, which is communication. You excel in all levels of communication, from written to presentations to meeting management. When you do that, you will separate yourself from all your peers. And if you don't know how to do it, see Nails Ed. Also, competence. Don't bring opinion to data fights. Source all your suggestions with data. Back it up. Back up your points of view, because your "I think so" isn't worth much at this point. Make sure that you have some data to support your recommendation, and you will be respected. And finally, complete. Complete the job. Get the job done before you go home. Get it done on time. And if you don't, set appropriate expectations of why it's not going to get done. But just not doing it, just not showing up, that's no way to go. All right, so let's move on. We are now going to be joined by Amy Darr from Pure Barre for our great interview. Very excited to have Amy join us. She's working with one of our classes here at MSU. And here she comes.
Hi.
Hey, Amy, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thanks. I'm glad you could make it.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
How's everything going over at the studio?
It's good. Yeah, really good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, well, thanks for joining us here today on the News Nail podcast. I have a bunch of questions I want to throw at you. I don't want to exhaust you, but so much to learn, so much to hear about what you're doing and how exciting what you are doing.
Thank you.
First of all, tell us a little bit about Pure Barre.
Okay.
What is it? Why do people go?
Yeah. So Pure Barre has been around for quite some time. It was kind of one of the first, I would say, franchises that's a boutique studio. So just a little bit different feeling when you walk through the door than a bigger box gym. It's a little bit more catered to certain exercises. Pure Barre itself is isometric movements, so it is great for anyone. It's very low impact but high energy. We teach to the beat of the music, so all of our instructors are have to go through a pretty extensive training to become a teacher. So we pride ourselves in the workout that we provide. Yeah, it's core influenced, a little ballet, yoga, Pilates. The ballet portion, we just use a ballet bar for balance, but it's just, yeah, super small isometric movement. So it's just really strengthening, toning, and lengthening with the muscles. So it's great for everybody. Awesome.
Yeah. I sometime get down there. 10 years ago, I was I'm not doing yoga. That's a woman thing. And now I've been doing yoga nonstop. And so it sounds like Pure Barre is the next step in my evolution.
Yeah, it's great. It's honestly the men and women that have come through the door that are active in other things like skiing, snowboarding, biking, running. It's just super helpful and strengthening for all of those things. So it's just a great combination to include with what you do outside of here as well, activities, especially in Montana.
Cool. So tell me, how long have you have you owned the Bozeman franchise?
So my journey with the Bozeman franchise started as a client. I walked through the door, I think month 2 that they opened, having no idea what it was. I just moved to Bozeman, so I didn't know a soul. I worked from home. So honestly, I am not a huge fitness person. Never thought in a million years that I would own a fitness studio. I just never could motivate myself to go to a gym. So walking through the door, it was just a great chance for me to meet people and the community, and it's a small inviting space. And then the workout, I was pleasantly surprised that I actually enjoyed it. It just goes really fast. And I actually looked forward to going. And the thing with boutique studios, you have to sign up for your class. And if you don't make it, you get charged. So it kept me accountable. So I started as a client, wanted to get out of the house more. So I asked if they were hiring like part-time front desk for me to just do something outside of the house. And she wasn't. And she asked me if I'd be a teacher. And I was like, no interest in being a teacher. And then she's like, well, that's kind of all we have. And I think you would be good at it. And I thought about it and I was like, well, I might as well. So I became a teacher and I absolutely loved it. And then there was a change of ownership, and the new owner, my background is in management. So the new owner, I went up to her and asked her if she was looking for a manager, and she said yes. And we chatted, and I think I started the following week as a manager. And then she invited me to be a part owner a few years later. And that was about 6 years ago. And coming up to January will be 2 years of me buying her out and me owning it myself.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, that's
Was it a little scary? How'd you know you could do it? You could run the business yourself.
When we were business partners, I was and being the manager, I kind of started to run it back then. So it wasn't as scary as it would have been just coming in. I feel, being a new person in the studio, but I'd already made partnerships and relationships with the clients and the staff. And so it was just kind of a seamless transition, honestly. And I loved it so much. And I believe in the workout, but as well as just the community and watching the changes in the people that come through the door. It was a no-brainer for me. Yeah.
Very cool. So was there a point where you got into it and you said, I'm not sure. And then was there a point like, yep, I'm going to make it. This is working. Was there a light bulb moment that, aha?
Yeah. COVID. COVID was both of those moments. COVID was a moment of, oh, wow, what have I done? What am I doing? Because I kind of bought it during COVID. And yeah, that was super scary. Not sure what was going to happen in the world, not sure how people would react to paying to come into a boutique fitness studio, being scared, all of the things that happened in general with COVID. It was pretty prominent in the fitness area and owning a boutique studio. But I think at the same time, the resilience of my staff and our clients and the support that I had during all of it, where clients were so supportive and willing to still pay for their membership, even though they weren't coming in. We started online classes like before we even had to shut down. So our clients could still, we knew that they could still do workouts with us. Me and my staff came in every single day while we were shut down and videoed classes, which kept us sane, and let our clients know that we were there for them. So that was my aha moment. I think both happened during COVID. Yeah.
Nice.
We were going to make it. Yeah.
What skills or attributes that you have, do you think have led to your success so far?
I think that my experience managing people, pretty much my entire life of being out of college, I've been in some sort of customer service job or management job where I've had to manage many different types of people. And I think that really gave me the skills to be a leader and create an environment of support to staff and to clients.
Excellent. Yeah, we were talking earlier in the pod about this quiet quitting and how people aren't engaged in their businesses. And one of the primary reasons is poor communications. Mm-hmm. What would you say? What's the key to great communications to ensuring your employees hear you and that you hear them and they're engaged and we're all aligned in where we're headed?
I think just being super open and honest, I think being understanding. I mean, I definitely feel like I'm a little bit on the lax side of probably being an owner. But I also have set up expectations from the beginning. And I feel like that I have created the respect to my employees that I am a super big part of the business. I think that the disconnect of not being in the studio every day or not knowing every aspect of your business is where you lose a lot of communication and respect with your employees. If you don't know how to do, excuse me, all of the jobs, like I could never imagine being an owner of a Pure Barre, but not being an instructor, like not knowing how to teach, which there are many out there. I just can't imagine. I think that you lose part of the respect of your employees if you don't know how to do every part of the business and help and support in every aspect.
Yeah, it certainly helps in setting expectations. I think there's a natural tendency for everyone that assumes every piece of work someone else does takes twice as long as it actually does. And so unless you've done it and understand it, it's tough to hire for or manage for it unless you've been around for a while.
And it's hard to give feedback to, people and, productive criticism of like, when you don't, know what they're going through or, how much time they put into it or how hard it can be for some people and not others. And, just really understanding all of the aspects of every part of the business.
Yeah, and as well as credibility. I think more today than any other day, positions of leadership are earned and not granted by title. I mean, you can have a higher title, but if people don't want to follow you or you don't have anything to lead. So you got to keep earning that every day, I think. So
and
awesome.
I think also not to, but like, I can tell you that most of the time I don't even tell people I'm the owner, or people a month in are like, are you the owner? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, I never knew. I was like, because I'm just part of the team. I don't come out there and throw that out there, so it just is kind of a natural. So I'm kind of on the same level as my staff,
But yet you have an additional responsibility, which is a big one, to be able to step out of the everyday role and have some white space and say, where do I want to go in the future? What are our objectives? What are our goals? How in the world do we get there? How do you do that? How do you separate that out? How do you create that time? Because I would imagine in your job, you could fill up every minute of the day with what I call kind of the busy work, right? Teaching, being in front of the desk, doing that. But and which is task accomplishment, which feels great. But how do you step out and say, there's bigger picture, long-term stuff I need to focus on?
Yeah, that's been a change that I've actually started to do over the past year or so, is step back from teaching a little bit, which is hard for me, just because I enjoy it so much. But I also, for reasons of running the business and growing it, also it's good for my staff to be teaching more because then they grow. So it's kind of a win-win on that side. It is, I used to teach probably 14 classes a week and I'm down to like 5. So it's been, but then I'm always here to fill in. So I'm here for everyone, but I'm also, doing all of the other things that I've realized that I need to kind of take away and manage and, like you said, kind of taking that step back, and that changes all the time. Like it's an ever-changing position as an owner and everything else, just trying to manage what needs to be done here. And it changes with the seasons, it changes with staff, it changes, with whatever's going on in town, things like that. So keeps it interesting. Gotcha. No day is ever the same.
Right. That's a guarantee when you're running your own business.
Yeah.
The other thing is like, and it's cliche, but I found it to be true running my business. It's quote lonely at the top, because certain things you can't talk to your employees about, and big decisions. How do you make big decisions? Who do you bounce stuff off of? Who do you look to for advice or just perspective?
I look at other kind of 2 separate groups of people. One would be other Pure Barre owners that I have become really close with over the years. And so I go to them with concerns and questions. And since we're a franchise, there's a bunch of us that are in the same position, and it's helpful to have other views of maybe what we're dealing with. So other franchise owners is one. And then another big one are other boutique fitness studio owners in Bozeman. I have become really close with a couple other owners ever since they opened. I reached out to them when they were opening their business, and we've become really close, and it's nice to bounce ideas off of them in regards to just a boutique fitness studio, but also, the demographic living in Bozeman, things going on. Are you having these concerns, in our city? So I have a really great community of other women business owners of boutique fitness studios that I look to for guidance and support.
Awesome. Super helpful. I mean,
yeah.
Remember Scott Galloway once said, it's tough to read the label from inside the bottle. So it's nice to try to get perspective of other people looking at it, because, greatness and success is in the agency of a community and others. It's you can't do it by yourself.
No, definitely not.
So good for you. So do you have certain routines that you follow every day, like in doing the job, running the business?
No.
Or is every day different? No.
Nope. Nope.
What does your typical workday look like?
I usually try to, most of the days I am here kind of midday. So most of my business happens from like 7 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon. So we have classes starting at 5, 6, 15. I do teach those once a week. So one day a week, my day does start a little earlier. On those days, I try to stay in the studio till maybe like 2 o'clock and then head out. It varies from teaching to taking. I try to take class at least 4 times a week. Just answering emails, reaching out to clients, ordering retail, doing promotions and support. So running around to meetings, brainstorming, coming up with our events for the next month. So yeah, just a combo of being in the studio, working from home a little bit. It's nice to have that variety of being able to do some things from home, but I do like to be in the studio. So
Gotcha.
I try to spend most of my business hours in the studio, whether I'm teaching or taking or working at the desk.
So do you think the studio is different today after you've taken it over than it was before? And if so, in what ways?
I think a little bit. I think there's always been a really strong sense of community, which is why it's been successful. I think that as the years have gone by, that has grown a little bit more, and the relationships in the community have changed, depending upon whether the businesses have been in town, what other businesses partnered with. So that kind of, changes here and there, but I think the overall feel has probably changed a little bit, but maybe just grown stronger. The community feel and the support has grown stronger, and our classes have changed. Like we're always growing and changing our classes. We've added certain formats since we opened. We've changed formats. We're changing a couple formats here in the next few months that we're super excited about, adding on a new class, which also keeps my staff excited. So we are always evolving. So we're never just a stagnant, you get the same bar workout, one class every time you come in here. We have intensives. We have 3 different formats. We change it up. We do pop-ups. So I think, that excitement about it has changed because we've done more of that as the years have gone by. So I think that keeps it fresh and exciting as well.
Gotcha. This word community, I hear it a lot in the success of, and maybe it's just in exercise studios, because Bailey talks about it over at Eckham, and Eddie and Chase down at Urban Fitness, they talk about that's their differentiator. Couple questions. Why do you think that is? And how do you go about, because community is an organic thing. It's not something like, I'm going to buy this and put this poster up and all of a sudden we're a great community. Like, how does that happen?
I think it's just building relationships with people clients, your staff, other businesses. You know, I've worked with both Urban Fitness and Bailey. Really, I've worked with Bailey a lot. And so I think it's just looking at your business as part of the community, and not looking at other boutique fitness studios or other small studios as competition. I think being more open-minded about that we are all in this amazing community that we love, and let's work together to make it better. And I think that creates community outside of your studio, and then you give that feeling of community inside your studio, which is a little bit different, where your clients come in and it's their safe space. It's their community of friends that they've made, coworkers that they run into, a feeling that they, you know, feel supported when they walk in the door. It's their community. So I feel like, you know, we've created that for people when they walk in the door. You can see the look on their face when they come in and they're like, oh, I'm here. My day is going to be better. That's what, nice. You know, that's community to me. Yeah.
Awesome. We talk about it in entrepreneurship a lot. There's a bunch of ways to be an entrepreneur. You can start a business, you can inherit a business, you can buy a business, you can purchase a franchise. Talk a little bit about the franchise model and the goods and the bads, you know, and the uglies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of that. The good is the support that you get from a franchise. You know, we have a lot of marketing support, which you know, have the option to take or not. So some of it don't take. I think that our studio, any studio, I think just needs to have their own individuality, which makes it so unique and part of the community. You can go to any Pure Barre in the country and get the same workout, but when people walk in here, I feel like sometimes they're like, wow, this is a great studio, you know, like without even taking a class yet. So it's the atmosphere that you create. So that on the franchise side is a little bit hard. I think that, so we got bought out a few years ago by a larger company. We'd already kind of created our own studio feel, and I did not change that when we were supposed to. So I think just really knowing your business and knowing what's best for you and taking those chances and, you know, doing what you need to do to make sure that you keep your brand how you want it, I think has been really important to me. That has been a little bit hard with the franchise. So, I mean, they have a say in certain things, which is sometimes hard to swallow, but then we have tons of support. So it's kind of, you know, it's a challenge, but it's also, yeah, it has its ups and downs.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you recently bought the franchise up in Billings. What prompted you to do that? What are the challenges there? You know, and I'm sure you're not assuming, oh, you know, same market, same thing. It must be completely different in Billings than it is in Bozeman. So how did that all come about?
Well, so yeah, before I even bought Bozeman, my old assistant manager wanted to grow in the Pure Barre world, and there really wasn't anywhere else for her to grow here because I wasn't going to go anywhere. So her and I opened a studio in Rochester, Minnesota. So I was part owner in that for quite some time and got it up and running. So that was my first kind of dabble in a second studio that, you know, we opened from scratch. So that was a new experience, and just like learning the community there and trying to make that work. Then I opened Fargo, North Dakota after that, and owned that for a couple years. And at the same time, it was just hard for me to get there. And I had a business partner who lived there, and I just didn't feel like I was contributing as much as I wanted to, or could in the situation that I had. So I was looking to to sell my portion. And at the same time, the owner of Billings, who ironically had just moved to Fargo, was looking to sell Billings. So I ended up taking over all of Billings, and she took over my half of Fargo. So that's kind of how Billings fell in my lap. Definitely a challenge. They've been around for 8 years, so long time, but have had multiple owners, and have kind of, yeah, had some challenges there. So my I'm just learning about the community there and what people are looking for and how to reach out to people. And it is, completely different than Bozeman. So it's a learning curve. It's a challenge that is interesting, and Bozeman's super successful. And so it's kind of exciting and fun to try to bring some of the success of Bozeman over to Billings as well.
What do you do to learn about a market? I mean, I can understand Bozeman, you've been here, you live here.
Yep.
How do you learn about a new market? Because I'm sure there's different nuances and how to get people in the studio and keep them there. How do you gather that information?
I'm still learning, but I think just spending more time over there and getting out and talking to other business owners and making those relationships and partnerships throughout the community of Billings, and just kind of diving into the culture over there is what my plan is and what I've started to do a little bit, but definitely need to do a little bit more. So it's just taking the time to get out and do more events and let people know we're still there, and let people know, remind them of what we do, and try to get them in the door, and then try to win them over when they get in the door. So the biggest challenge is getting them in the door. So that is what I have been trying to do, is just getting out and talking to people and figuring it out, talking to my staff, talking to clients of what they suggest, and kind of just leaning on people there that know the community and learning from them.
Nice. So when you bought the first franchise and the next one, how did you raise the funding? How did you finance it? Because lots of different ways: take on debt, take on partners,
Yep.
work your way to it. How do you do it?
Yep. So when I took over, I've done all of the above. When I became partner in Bozeman, I just paid a percentage of what I would normally make, went to my business partner to pay off my portion of the loan. So I didn't have to take any funding out for that. When I bought her out, I did a couple different things. I took a small business loan out, and then I'm actually just paying her. She had bought it outright, so I'm just actually taking a loan from her. So I just pay her every month. She's also my landlord. So I pay her a landlord, and then I pay for my loan that I took out to buy her out of her portion of the business.
Gotcha. Self-funded it.
Yep, self-funded. And then I had a private investor for Billings that I'm super grateful for. And then when I bought Fargo, we took out a business loan and split it partnership wise.
Nice.
Yep.
So that's an advantage of a franchise, especially established one. There's some recurring revenue. There's a track record that you can borrow against.
Yes. Yep. So Fargo was a little hard because it was, it's hard to show numbers when you don't have anything substantial. You can be like, well, here's my projection of getting people in the door, but there's nothing that I can, hard, solid, something that be, to sell that. So it's a little hard to start because it's hard to show, like, how do you know you're going to get this many people through the door? What if you don't, or whatever, so that was a little hard, but yeah. So I've been through all of it.
So which creates a little stress. How do you manage your stress?
Pure Barre.
There you go. Nice.
I think taking class helps me. My friends, spending time with my friends, traveling, just getting away when I know I need to get away and take a little break and step back. I try to do that, whether it's for a weekend or for, a week.
Yep.
Yeah. Being outside.
These days, that's a dicey play because travel could be more stressful than your actual job.
Yeah. Different kind.
Yeah. What we deal with.
Yeah. Yeah. So lots of different things. I have 4 dogs. So, I hang out with them.
You live in Bozeman.
Yeah. So probably my friends though, and my family are, the most, I try to spend as much time with them, and they, have been super supportive and helpful. So I always feel better when I'm around them. Yeah.
Awesome. So throughout this process in your journey, did you ever have any doubt, like, "Ooh, this may not work," or "What did I get myself into?" And or I mean, I remember used to waking up Monday mornings, even after a few years of running my business, like, "Am I really qualified to run this thing?" You know,
Yeah.
the imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
How do you move through that?
Yeah. I think that also sometimes I have, when I mentioned that, like, some people don't even know I'm the owner, it's because I don't say it, because sometimes I don't even believe it. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. Oh, I am the owner. Oh yeah. Oh, yep. I did that. Yep. Okay. Instead of being like, oh, I just work here. Oh yeah. No, sometimes there's like a reality check and you're like, oh no, I own it. Oh yes, I did that. Oh, what did I do? Ugh. So it's kind of goes in waves. Sometimes it's overwhelming and you're like, ooh, what have I done? Where am I going from here? What's next? Or, and then sometimes it's just another great day at work and I don't even think about it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So a lot of our listeners are either students or they're a year out, a couple of years out.
Mhm.
What would you tell your 21, 22-year-old self, knowing what you know now?
Find something that you love to do. And that you have a passion for. I graduated from college with a communications degree. Didn't know what I was going to do. Never used it. Went into management. I managed a Aveda retail store in a mall for 6 years, which was a great jumping off point. I loved Aveda. So I was like, I will work in the mall at a store and this is great. I became assistant manager. Then I moved to New York City and worked for Fashion Week with Aveda, and have worked off and on with them for 20 years before I started at Pure Barre. And that I thought maybe I would have worked for them forever. And then just walking in here and becoming super passionate about the brand. I was like, yeah, this is, I guess, my path. So I think just like being open to whatever comes your way and, doing jobs that you may not think that you would love and trying them out. Like I said, I've always been an athlete, but I've never loved to work out. I never went to the gym every day. I didn't wake up and get on, Peloton or anything at all. So the fitness path of my life, I didn't think that I would ever have this career. So just being open and open-minded and trying to find something that you love.
Yeah, makes sense. I had a boss that used to say you can't get hit by traffic unless you're in traffic. So you got to put yourself out there.
Yep.
And also these companies like Aveda, like what a great way to get training and get paid to do it, and take advantage of the training that they have because they've done it a bunch of times. Why not listen and give it a shot?
Yeah. And I did so many jobs with them, which was also great, and jobs that I never thought I would even put myself out there to do. I mean, I worked in the retail side. I worked in the administrative side. I ran the Aveda Fashion Week, which was a dream of mine, that I went to New York for 2 years and did it. And it was great. I always wanted to do it. And I was like, I guess I'm going to go to New York and do this. And I did. And then I ended up coming back. And so just like taking chances and letting yourself be out there. And, if you do it for a year and you don't love it, then you find something else, or it might lead to something else. You might meet someone else and they might have an opportunity for you. I mean, I've met,
right.
Being out there.
Awesome. Well, we'll start wrapping up here. I call this the lightning round.
Okay.
Short little answers here, but so what do you like the most about what you do?
The people, just being around people all day, actually, and
all right.
Yeah.
How about the least about what you do?
Being around people every day.
Kind of thought that was coming. All right.
Sometimes it's overwhelming and a lot, and sometimes you don't want to be around people, but then most days it's great. But then some days I'm like, I'm over it.
Yep. Unpredictable too.
Yep.
What do you think your strengths, your greatest strength, your greatest weakness?
Strength, I think, would be leadership and management. Weakness, I think, is just probably being a little, I probably could be a little harsher and be a little bit, have more rules and things that sometimes I'm just not that great at.
Okay. How do you keep up to date? What are the top 3 either websites or podcasts or news feeds that you can't imagine your day without?
I actually, nothing really. Honestly, I've stopped watching TV.
Yeah.
I used to have the TV on all the time. I haven't had the TV on honestly in months. I just started listening to podcasts. So I'm actually excited about doing that and trying to integrate it into my daily life. But I listen to music on the daily and that kind of gets me through. So I wake up and look forward to just throwing on some music and going about my day.
No social media for you?
Instagram, I guess, is probably most. I have a little bit for personal, but then mostly for business. I do scroll through that, but I feel like that's actually gotten less and less over the past few months. Yeah.
It is a time black hole. A lot of those.
Yeah.
Find.
Yeah.
So your best employee is one who?
Is open to putting themselves out there and just being reliable and helpful.
Nice.
Yeah, that's the kind of employee I like.
Your best client is one who?
Likes to buy a lot of retail.
Being honest, I like that.
No, my favorite clients are the ones that have been with me since we opened and supported us through everything and come to all of our events and are literally here every day. And that's why I love coming to work every day.
Nice.
Yeah.
So as an entrepreneur, of course, you wear many hats, you have many jobs. What's your favorite one?
I think just having a lot of hats. I could never sit and do a desk job again, which I did when I first graduated from college. I could never do that again. I like wearing all the hats and having different things every day and, being pulled this direction and doing that, and every day is different and I'm learning all the time. So yeah, I just like the variety of hats.
Yeah, I can totally empathize with that. Being undiagnosed ADD until I was in my mid 40s, having run my business for 6 years.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how non-ADD people do it, but I love all the different hats.
Yeah. Yep. Me too.
Who's your biggest role model?
I would say probably my parents. I started working they ran businesses, they were teachers, but then they always had these side jobs. Again, I've always had probably 3 jobs every time I worked. So I think they just really threw me in the direction of working hard and, having a lot of variety and kind of doing what you like and, having a full-time job and also then, doing something that you're super passionate about as a part-time job. And I kind of saw them do that while I grew up and I've carried that over to my career.
Nice. All right, last one. If you could describe yourself in one word, what would that word be?
Ambitious.
Okay, awesome. Great. Any question I should have asked and I didn't?
Oh, I don't think so. That was a lot of questions. I think you
did
good.
That was a lot. Well, so did you, and I really appreciate you coming on and being part of the cast, and look forward to seeing more of you throughout the semester. I know I'll see you towards the end when your team has something to present.
Yes.
And we'll see you around.
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity. It was great talking to you.
All right.
Okay.
Great.
Bye.
Bye. All right, that was Amy Darr, owner of the Pure Barre franchise here in Bozeman and recently up in Billings. And what we're talking about at the end, I also teach in the College of Business and Entrepreneurship at Montana State University. And one of our classes is Entrepreneurial Experience, where we team up teams of 3 students with a local business to work on a project throughout the semester. And she's working with us this semester. So the last thing we're going to do is have one more quick NewsRivet here. And let me just pull it up for you to see. So the NewsRivet we're going to talk about today is about our current economic situation here in the United States, inflation. I spent last Friday with the great folks at Next Frontier Capital. Will Price and the folks down there did an awesome job presenting what they're doing in the investment banking world, but also touched on the economy as a whole, and discussing the issue of inflation. And right now, our country is dealing with that. And there's basically two levers you can pull. It's kind of like macroeconomics 101, demand and supply. Currently, the government has a lever to pull on demand. It's a very blunt instrument, but it's the rate hikes, which is slowly squeezing off capital. A lot of consumers feel that in the source of loans, mortgages. Mortgage rates go up, people buy less houses, car loans go up, therefore tough to buy a car. So they try to slow down buying, to slow down to demand, which is really not great in an economy that's built on consumption. If you're going to slow down commerce and consumption, you're going to slow down the entire economy, and everybody hurts. So, and it ripples through the entire economy. So the other thing people don't talk much about is what are the levers we can pull for supply? There's subsidies kind of that don't work. There's tax policy. You can reduce taxes, as they did in the previous administration, which spurred businesses to invest in their business and buy a lot of plant and equipment, which again drives up demand, but also keeps people employed. So I was talking with Frank Kearns, Dr. Kearns, over at MSU, professor in finance, economics, and accounting, and I mentioned to him, like, why couldn't you goose the supply by making more goods available? Because inflation, again, is the driving up of prices, and driving up of prices because there's not enough supply. Again, macroeconomics 101. And what's inhibiting supply? Well, a lot of it is getting employees in entry-level jobs. In fact, there's over 2 million entry-level jobs in the service industry. There's over 9 million entry-level jobs in the construction industry, the trades, that are unfilled, either because Americans don't want to do them, they don't have to do them because they're being subsidized by our government, printing and handing out money. But there are at least, if not more, 2 million people that are coming to our borders that are literally dying for those jobs. And for some reason, both parties can't get their act together to figure out some some respectful way to delineate who should be here, who's here for the right reasons, and get them assimilated in the society. I mean, these are literally people that want to be here. They've literally walked thousands of miles so they can be part of this country, so they can have a job, so they can pay taxes, so they can be part of this community that we call America. And these are the folks that, compared to where they used to live, once they're into this community, would do anything to defend it. They're the first ones to pick up arms and fill out our armed services. And by the way, for the first time ever, the US Army did not fill their quota of recruits this year. These are the folks that would do that. And for some reason, we can't figure this out. And the boys and girls in Washington aren't doing their job. And I don't understand this, because both of their constituencies would hate them for it. So then why not just do it and get it done, because it's the right thing to do? And this whole notion that, oh, they're freeloading. I encourage you to read the poem called Home by Warsan Shire. And it very simply says, nobody leaves home unless they really have to, unless you're getting beat up, unless there's crime, unless there are drug lords, unless you are being harassed. No one gets up and says, I think I'm going to get a free meal in America, so I'm going to walk 3,000 miles, literally, with my kid on my back, and get shot at and get arrested and get tossed back here and do it again, just because I want a free trip to the ER, or I want my kid to go to kindergarten for free. That's not in this. No one really wants to leave home unless they really have to. These are folks that have to, and we are the greatest country in the world to bring that in. Every one of us here came from someplace else. Okay, so if it was good for our forefathers and our grandparents and our great-grandparents, it's probably good for a lot of these people that are crossing the Rio Grande now. And that's it for the News Nail Rivet. So thanks for showing up for episode 14. This was the News Nail, brought to you by Nails Ed, a learning and development platform focused on professional communications in writing, presentations, and meeting management. Nails Ed ensures all your communications are received first because they're focused, they grab interest, they're researched, they're specific, and they have time-based specific next steps. We offer these services online and in person. Learn more about it at nailsed.com, which is launching in the next few weeks. This has been the News Nail. Sky Montana and Abigail Soroka producers. Music by Slade Hudson. Fact-checking, story sourcing by Rancher Pete, who can be found on Instagram at Rancher Pete MT. M as in Mary, T as in Tom. Thanks so much, and we will be seeing you in our next News Nail coming out in the next week or so.